Hello guys, welcome once again to this channel, and today's discussion we're going to focus on this particular statement of Elon Musk saying that whites are suffering in the hands of the black in South Africa. And this surprises me because between South Africans and the whites in South Africa who are suffering, between these two, who is truly suffering? I have this particular video here showing how particularly blacks are suffering in these African countries, in their own lands.
Can we talk about this? Speaking of Africa, South Africa is taking back its land from the people that took the land. And the people are mad, including Elon Musk, Apartheid Clyde, really mad about the he said Starlink, because they banned Starlink in South Africa, which I think is delicious. No. As it broke up, did you see last night the pictures of the Star? This is the second time.
Yeah,
second
one
time.
of SpaceX's.
His trashy, because he doesn't follow through with anything. He comes in and he's not the genius. You took over something, you probably fired a bunch of people at Starlink, fired a bunch of people at Tesla, came in, fired a bunch of people at Twitter, came in, fired the biggest employer, the government. He didn't know what people do. Hiring these 20-year-olds, paying them $150,000, $60,000 a year to come in and do something that they're not equipped to do. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And of course, your stuff is raggedy. He has more space debris. He is polluting our space.
Yep.
And so it's breaking apart and falling over black islands like the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. It was Barbados last couple of months ago. And so that happened. And now South Africa's like, no, you can't bring that Starlink in. He had the nerve to say, look at this. He said, Starlink is not allowed to operate in South Africa because I'm not black. So he's crying racism.
Right.
He's crying racism. So here's what I need people to understand, that the apartheid system was so brutal and so ridiculous and you could read Mark Matherbane's Kaffir Boy, Kaffir, Kaffir Boy, if you really want to get some insight. And even that might be a little muted because it came through mainstream publishing. They're going to always kind of sanitize it just a little bit. But, he writes about 8-year-olds having to prostitute themselves just to eat. And they would go to the construction sites where white men were, and just for lunch, 8-year-old babies out there selling their bodies for lunch, not for money, for lunch, not for dinner, not for a bag of rice, not to feed the whole, just for a meal, one meal. But I want to put it in perspective. Oscar Pistorius, you remember him? Man ain't had no legs.
Yeah.
The brutality.
He was like an Olympian with the Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Brutally killed his girlfriend. Double amputee.
Got her through the door of a bathroom or something.
Oh my! Listen, he just got out last year after spending 13 years. He was sentenced to 13 years. He spent a decade for shooting his girlfriend through a bathroom door, shocking the world, but lied about it or whatever. And I'm not saying that it's in the DNA, but I'm saying Charlize Theron, her mother had to kill her father. Did y'all know that Charlize Theron, because her father was so brutal?
Damn.
Y'all came there after Elon's mother's father left the Nazi Party of Canada and was looking for the next place to go to exploit people, and found this South Africa. So that's not your land. It was never your land. And just to put in perspective, it's not just South Africa. It's Kenya, which is also over there, and a lot of other places. I had this video that I sent Smiz. I sent you. Did I send it to you? From this, yes, just to put perspective on it, as they're crying because we're not black. They're taking the land. They're treating us, and Trump's like, yes, let's get those poor, discriminated against white South Africans to America.
Now he understands discrimination. Okay,
yeah, all of a sudden
he get it now.
Oh my goodness, play this clip just to put it on all of the continent and what happened. Play it.
Grandfather acquired a 5,000-acre block. And his eldest son-in-law got a 5,000 block over there. So in 1904, for a very short time, between the two men, we owned 10,000 acres. Now, you've just driven down a lovely tarmac road to get here.
Yes.
That tarmac road was the boundary between those two 5,000-acre blocks.
And you paid completely nothing for it, just the surveyor's fee.
Yes, I believe that is true. Let's be honest. It was a fight for survival on both sides. We wanted to keep our land, but quite a lot of that land had been acquired illegally or through coercion, through force, and that had to be accounted for. What we were portrayed was that the Mau Mau were very violent, and that was true. Okay, one of the things in warfare, you try to denigrate the enemy. You remember in Rwanda they talked about the enemy as cockroaches. Do you remember that? To try and make it that if you killed them, it wasn't an issue. You know, you're just where's the aerosol can, you know, you're just spraying cockroaches. Okay. And so what I do remember as a child is that they produced horror books. So you would get a publication of 10 or 15 pages, quite big, with nothing but atrocities of people that have been chopped up by the Mau Mau. So people, heads cut off, animals, legs cut off, children murdered in their beds, and this was thrown at us. The violence on both sides has to be acknowledged. We can't go back 120 years and change history. So what we've got to do, we've got to take responsibility. I couldn't change what my father and his people did, but at least I can go to somebody and say, Paul Esana, I want you to forgive me for what they did.
Mike, I think part of your apology should be give back this land. It's almost 5,000 acres thereabout, being owned by one person in a country where majority of the people don't even own a plot. Have you had to have that conversation and asked yourself, I'm sitting in this large chunk of land that we paid no penny for, should we give it back, or what do we do with it? And what do you think is the right thing to do?
You know, listening to that, I spent Monday, Roderick, talking about, you know, this country and the history and the way in which we have to reconcile as they want to ban books that paint white aggression and violence and terrorism in a very, you know, different light, and try to reframe enslavement and try to demonize black folk, which they've done from the very beginning. And I talked about Ehrlichman, and I talked about Reagan, and I talked about Nixon, and how you have to demonize your quote unquote enemies so you can get away with the stuff. That they printed up little books showing the black people, the Mau Maus of Kenya, as violent when they're really just taking back what the British took from them. But your family came, and the family lores, these are vicious cockroaches, not worthy. They're savages. I remember growing up in America, looking at Africans and being afraid because of the way Abbott and Costello, or the way Disney portrayed black people in Heckle and Jekyll and all of the, I believe I done seen a elephant fly and all of this kind of like, and it was codified in advertising, whether it was the Gold Dust Twins or whatever, this kind of like lowbrow, not even Birth of a Nation. Beyond that, it was everywhere. The propaganda about blackness in this country, which means generations of white folk, so-called white folk, have raised in this story that feels real to them. So we got to fight it. And I'm glad that Stacey but others that have the ability must tell the truth, must do it eloquently. We ain't got to call them out of their name to tell the truth, but we got to stop this. And now they're going to try to flip it that white people are somehow oppressed. No. People are taking back something that you took from them. That's what we call reparations. 866-801-8255.
Have you ever seen the documentary series Exterminate All the Brutes? It came on HBO. It's pretty.
We talked about that in class with Carr a few years ago.
Yeah, but like that's it right there. That's the nutshell. Everybody that you attacked and ravaged has to be a savage. Your violence against them was to civilize them, to uplift them. Slavery is uplifting the black folks and bringing them into civilization. So like, yeah, they have to flip the narratives. And I think this last year really taught me something about how powerful narratives are, because I really didn't see it before. Because I'm so fact-based and I'm so like, either this happened or it didn't happen. And if it didn't happen, I don't want to talk about it. But telling a lie enough times, that people can latch onto it and be like, no, this is my new truth. It's extremely powerful, and watching it work in real time was very eye-opening and scary, but also affirming in some ways, because I've read so much history where I was like, how did that happen? You know, when you look at like Reconstruction and then you look at the period after Reconstruction and you're like, how did that happen? Like, like how did we end up with a poor, oppressed upon Southern white man who just tried to civilize these Negroes, and now they're all in charge and they're savaging us? And I'm like, what? After slavery, after the Civil War, after like you guys got Jim Crow because you lied, and somebody, and not just the Southerners, people in charge in the North who won the Civil War were like, that lie is the truth now. We need to get these black people out of power and out of office so that the white man will stop being oppressed down there. And that's what's happening in South Africa right now, is the shifting of the narrative to these poor white. What did they ever do? They are taking their land. How they get the land? That's not the problem. Why are you bringing up old stuff?
Right,
like, it's
right.
crazy.
That part. Let's not live in the past. No, we never litigated the past. And to your point, I'm sitting here thinking about how even now the demonization of black folk and the shifting of the narrative to your point, in real time.
Yeah.
The work is so, we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional.
Yes.
866-801-8255. Because I think I read the stat, and this is where we are right now with the chaos. It only takes, I think, a week for people to devolve into savagery when they don't have food, water, when they don't have things. So
Yes.
You purposefully do that to people?
Mm-hmm.
It only takes a week for neighbors to turn on neighbors.
Welcome back once again. To start by, it is very ironical to see Elon saying that whites are suffering in the hands of the black. Yet, if you go back to South Africa, you see the Afrikaners, the place called Orania, where it is only for Afrikaners. Any other person cannot live there. There they have their own currency. They have their own government system. But in a different country, you come to a black country, you create your own currency there, your own security, your own education system. How does this happen? Yet Elon is saying that whites are suffering in the hands of the black. The fact that only Afrikaners can be allowed in that area in South Africa, it's a direct continuation of apartheid ideology. While proponents claim that it's all about preserving culture, the racial exclusivity is undeniable. It is very ironical that some white South Africans argue against race based on policies like black economic empowerment while upholding their own racially exclusive spaces. Now, I don't know what you view on this. Just give me your views in the comment section about how you feel about this matter. If this is your first time in this channel, we greatly appreciate your time here. Thank you so much for being here, and please, you can consider supporting us by simply subscribing, ringing that notification bell, and also liking. You can also share. We will greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.